And I want to here publicly thank the actors who actually have provided the sort of love money and business angel type of funding that this initiative is built upon. I'm not saying business angel and love money by accident. What we label this initiative is that it is a policy startup. And a policy startup has been extremely thrifty for the last 4 years. Our budget has grown, but if you can see the numbers, the budget for this year is about 400,000 euros, and it is now clearly time to scale up. Our objective next year is to reach a funding of $1.2 million US dollars with 3 objectives. One is to grow the team to 5 people, which is necessary given the importance of the traction. The second thing is to increase outreach and particularly give more resources to organize events that can associate developing countries in broader form. And the third element is having the resources to, beyond the prototype that I just mentioned, produce an actually scalable and secure platform. So why do we present here this initiative? It's very simple. The bottom line is that it fits within the principles and the roadmap of the Net Mundial event of last year. But it also, as was mentioned by Eileen a little bit earlier in her presentation, it also fit with one of the goals of the Net Mundial initiative as such, i.e. to enhance the ecosystem of governance and to go towards concrete solutions. Actually, we believe that this is modestly and ambitiously at the same time a test bed for a new mode of transnational cooperation and multi-stakeholder cooperation. And it implements a notion that was highlighted in the panel chaired by Thomas Ilves, the president of Estonia, 1 year ago, about the notion of issue-based governance networks. And so, what we're expecting from this here is not only present this to the people in the council, but also to the community that is here. We're hopefully basically hoping that some form of endorsement and recognition can bring a deeper engagement and outreach to the community, more than what we do already, which is a lot, but a broader one. Second, to bring exposure to high-level events and key decision makers, because it's always important to raise awareness more and more. And finally, and last but not least, although the Net Mundial Initiative Council per se is not channeling money, gathering funding and growing the funding pool is a very important objective. So finally, in a nutshell and in summary, the message that I wanted to convey is we must, and you know that in negotiation of documents, must is a strong word. We must tackle this issue of jurisdiction. It is actually at the core of the governance on the internet. And if we don't collectively do it, we're actually running the risk of destroying the very benefit by trying to do good, but having solutions that do not coordinate with one another. And so it is not easy. I think the experience that we have gathered and that some of you have participated in the last 4 years show that it is possible to do it provided that we scale up the resources. The path is set. And the message is basically you here around this table, but also here in this room, you have collectively the power to give the impulsions to do this. And fundamentally, the challenge is to basically collectively demonstrate that a multi-stakeholder approach can produce operational solutions. So that's basically what I wanted to tell you today. If you can show the next slide, is you're all invited to our booth in the village and to the workshop that we organize and host on Friday in room 4 at 11. Thank you.
Great. I already see you have a question here. Yeah, let's everybody.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Sonigitu from Nigeria. My question goes, it's basically on jurisdiction. We have the stakeholders, governmental, civil society, businesses. Now, I notice since ever the civil societies are not properly coordinated. So how do they sit on this multi-stakeholder? Because the governments are coordinated, the business, they have the World Business Council. You also have the UN sitting on one side. But the civil society, anyone just sprang up from any of the zone. So how do we coordinate them across continent so that they could have a specific voice, have a hierarchy of being able to present their cases? Secondly, do we need to engage citizens at the grassroots, because powers are concentrated more at the national level, and the citizens are not properly engaged at the grassroots and subnational? So you find out over concentration of powers at the national level. How do we diversify? Thank you.
I'd be happy to have a stab. But I'd be happy to have a stab as well afterwards.
So we're going to both address this. Since I'm part of civil society, one of the things that I really like about the approach that this project takes is it flows from what Bertrand said at the end. They're trying to operationalize the multi-stakeholder model of problem solving. And that is exactly how you get civil society to be part of the process. Without that approach, you're completely right. Governments are organized, in fact, and businesses are organized, civil society less so. That is one of the real virtues of their approach. So it's not only are they tackling one of the most complex challenges in the substantive internet governance ecosystem, the extraterritorial effects of transnational digital data flow. That's a really complex substantive area. But they're doing it in a mode that is multi-stakeholder and that does attempt to give civil society an equal seat at the table. And I was participating, Marilia was there, a number of us were there at the Berlin meeting where it was equal footing. And so that's an additional reason, not only the substantive importance, but the process approach that they are demonstrating in their project.
Beyond the work, it's not directly related to the project itself, but I want to answer your question because for personal reasons, I've been able to observe the coordination of the different stakeholder groups from various perspectives. And the issue that you're mentioning needs to be addressed in two dimensions. One is do not overestimate the coordination of the other groups. The reality is I've been an ambassador in the French Foreign Affairs Ministry. Every single government, when you talk about with them, either after they left their office or when they are in private discussions, they will tell you that the coordination within the governments and among governments is a very complex affair. In all the international organizations, you get the same country having different positions in different international discussions because the coordination is difficult to do. Likewise, in the business sector, I have personal relations with somebody who used to be coordinated the International Chamber of Commerce Basis Initiative. There are many coordination groups within business. And likewise, in civil society, there are people here like Wolfgang and Bill who have been with me when we created the Internet Governance Caucus during the World Summit on the Information Society. And there have been other initiatives. You get best bits today, but you have also very large networks. I know that Henriette Sterrison was in the room earlier. APC is a large network. ISOC is a large network. There are many civil society groups. There shouldn't be anything like the coordination of either business or civil society. This is not the distributed model. What is needed is to leverage the sort of star-like system and mesh structure so that you can bring into the discussions people who are hubs of networks. And that's what we've tried to do. In the list that I mentioned here of 100 entities that have participated, we have made a big effort to connect and include entities that are connected to other networks and that can help percolate the discussion. So the coordination doesn't mean that there should be a pyramid in any of the groups. There are different coordination groups. And you will see, if you haven't talked to them, people who are coordinated the Internet Governance Caucus, the Best Bits. There is even the JustNet Coalition that I don't share particularly the positions of, but they do coordinate and they do have positions that are worth listening to. There's NCUC in ICANN, many different parts.
Any other questions? Yep.
John, citizen participation, because you find out that at the national level, so much concentration. Now, a lot of treaty has been signed by various governments, and yet it's not implementable. Reason is that people at the grassroots, as subnational, are not considered to be able to interface with the UN system. How do we crack this challenge?
The project we will hear about later from CGI will help.
Perfect. So the good news is you will get an excellent answer to that question in the third segment of this program, wherein CGI presents their best practices work, and I think it addresses that question exactly. I'm just going to say one thing, that what I heard also from Bertrand is the need for sustainable funding. This is such an important project, and people out scrounging around for money becomes a problem and a distraction from the real work that has to happen. And I think what the Net Mundial initiative is hopefully going to try to do, and this is the piece we have not yet solved, we've been working on our own terms of reference, our mission, getting the platform established, getting the solutions map established. The next phase is to figure out what is the mode of our work in gathering other potential funders for projects that we either endorse or fully support, like this one. This is a prime example of the kind of project we believe deserves a lot of financial backing from the general community, and we're going to be working to find a mode of support financially and otherwise for projects like this. So thank you very much. The next project is Susan Chalmers with the Friends of the IGF. And the reason this project is such a valuable one for us to highlight today is simply because it's all about ways in which we can engage specifically with this IGF community, which is another, our reason for being is to help support this community itself. And so Susan, please.
Thank you kindly. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of the Friends of the IGF project. I will keep my remarks limited so that we have ample time for questions, so I can respond to any questions you may have. First, I'd like to begin by describing what Friends of the IGF is, and then I will explain a bit about the history of the project. I would like to then turn to our project proposal and explain what we are hoping to achieve by appealing to the Net Mundial initiative. And then I will conclude with a few words on the stewardship of the project. So the Friends of the IGF is a grassroots effort that aims to increase public access to the very important discussions that unfold at the IGF. And this will encourage more informed and diverse participation by IGF stakeholders. So the problem that Friends of the IGF attempted to solve in 2013 when we began was a very simple one. And that is to be able to search and locate the very important IGF discussion content. So before this website, it was pretty difficult for any given user to search and locate IGF session content. Many recordings from IGF sessions were scattered across a number of different online locations or otherwise had not been published on a platform, and a number of recordings remain missing still. So friendsoftheigf.org, that is the output of the project. It is a living archive. It is a searchable database of transcripts, video agendas, videos, agendas, and reports from IGF events, stretching all the way back to Athens. Those involved in Friends of the IGF have gone to great lengths to locate these informational artifacts and to organize them into one place to make it easier for the community to find what they're looking for. So much time, for example, was taken to upload the transcripts and videos by hand into the database. So the archive website allows the user to search content by speaker name, keyword, meeting, day, and other criteria, which empowers the user to research previous discussions for whatever purpose, including the creating of new workshop proposals. And it's important to note that we do not host third-party content on the site. All of the content is pulled from official IGF channels. And throughout this entire process, we have been working hand in hand with the IGF Secretariat to ensure that our resource complements and supports the work of the IGF, but there is no confusion created between the two websites. So just a little bit about the history. We kicked off following the May 2013 in-person MEG meeting in Geneva that year. That's where the idea first gained traction amongst a number of MEG members and IGF participants. And then over the next few months between the May meeting and then leading into the Bali IGF, I led a process that included a number of open calls for the community. So we created an open mailing list. Anybody was able to join and everybody was invited to participate. And so we built the website over some months. And we've been maintaining it since. So if you want to visit the website, it's friendsoftheigf.org. You can search for yourself if you'd like. You can search for speaker names. And you'll find that it's a really, really good start, but there is much more work to be done to improve this database and to really, really turn it into the resource that the internet governance community deserves. So I'd like to now turn to the project proposal that we've submitted. Basically, we have three things that we would like to cover as part of our project. We'd like to improve the website, we'd like to maintain it, and we'd like to expand the website to be able to welcome content contributions from national and regional initiatives. We'd also like to explore options for translation so that we truly can provide this information to as many people as possible. In terms of the improvements, what we would like to do is to work with some new developers. So when we started the project, we worked with some great two very small teams in New Zealand, and they did a great job. But we think that the project and the demands that are created by the project should be addressed by a team with greater resources. So we'd like to rebuild the database, and we'd also like to work with the team to review, select, and implement technologies that will allow us to automatically analyze and classify the content to go into the database to be able to store and enabling the user to search the content. We also would like to create translation options, as I explained before, and that's a bit tricky, but so part of the project would be devoted to analyzing what automatic and manual options there are. And then we'd also like to expand the website. So as I mentioned before, we were uploading content by hand, mainly on the weekends. But I think it would be excellent if we could create an interface that would enable national and regional initiatives to upload their content through the website. And so then we can really just be able to expand the resource. And so the amount that we've sought for this project is $100,000, 80% of which ideally we would like to have devoted towards web development, 20% of which we would like to have devoted to other resources, including supporting the national and regional initiatives and contributing content if need be, and also marketing and social media support. So finally, I'm just going to conclude with a note on stewardship. I've had the honor to be able to lead this project, mainly on my own time, and it's been a great project. But it's time for me, I think, and it's time for the resource as well, to be carried forward by an institution that has greater resources and more capabilities to be able to handle this. So I'm happy to say that it appears that based upon the meeting of the CGI.BR board, most recent one, that they would be a new institution to be able to manage this and to really take it forward. So the project would still be carried through as proposed and as planned, but it would be with an institution that does have a greater capability to really turn this thing into something that can be most beneficial to everyone. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I'd also like to encourage you to review the proposal on the collaboration platform for further information. Thank you.
So I don't know if anyone in the audience has questions. I have one comment, which is, you know, the value here is so obvious and it should be very uncontroversial. I mean, year after year, people come to the IGF and make incredible intellectual contributions to very complex areas, and yet much of the material gets lost, and then each year people reinvent the wheel. And so this is a very simple idea with high value. And I think, Bill, do you want to say something?
I just wanted to add that what she's done is actually fantastic. I mean, this was a self-starter initiative that really added incredible value for everybody in the IGF community. The IGF runs on a shoestring, as we all know. The Secretariat doesn't have all the institutional capacity one might like. And what Susan did was to make accessible in a very workable form everything going back to the beginning in a way that's just been tremendous. So we really appreciate your work. Thanks.
Maria?
Thank you. I just would like to add to what Bill just has said. It's a tremendously important project. I think that much of the discussions that are taking place in New York by the end of the year with regards to the value of the IGF and the contribution that it represents and the renewal of the mandate, the answer is in those transcripts. It's in the material that you are collecting and organizing, because there's so much value and substance there. And if we only had a way to see this material in a more comprehensive way, so it is tremendously important, not only for the community, but for the IGF itself as an institution, as it establishes itself and it's important in the UN scenario, and also for academics. I think that some of the work that Diplo, for instance, has done in terms of data mining and identifying correlations from the transcripts could be rendered much more accessible if this information was kind of classified and kind of organized in a more way that is more easy to digest. I just would like to mention that maybe you have done that, but Stefan is here and there is the mapping project, and I think that there will be tremendous value if the information that you are kind of organizing could kind of link and communicate with the mapping as well, so we can be indexed. That would be really tremendous. So thanks.
I think Giannis has a comment to make as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Is it working? So, Susan, thank you very much for your presentation. I think you are doing a fabulous job, and the project that you described is very helpful, especially when you think in terms of how the initiative could strengthen IGF. So this is exactly the way how it is. Of course, we need to acknowledge that there is a little bit of a history of this project. And at the time when IGF was struggling in getting sufficient support to Secretariat, there wasn't the possibility to take up the work on improving IGF website at that time. So that was the beginning of the initiative when a community came forward and said, you know, we know how to do it, and so here we are. Of course, the ideal situation would be to merge the official IGF website and this Friends of IGF website, because both are reflecting the same topic but from different perspectives. So one is very institutional and very formal. I mean the IGF website, and this is audiovisual. The Friends is audiovisual and much more, let's say, visually easy to follow. You know that there were a number of contacts and conversations how that could be possible. Unfortunately, because of certain United Nations rules, and you know that IGF is a UN project, we have not found yet the proper way how these two sites could be sort of combined through one single interface, maybe. So we still need to think it through. But I would simply want to stress that this project goes very much in the heart of implementation as well of the recommendations of the CSTD working group on improvements of IGF, which stated that IGF should do everything to improve value of its activities for member states, particularly in developing world. So through this database and then search facility, everyone who is interested to find sort of some information about issues that have been discussed in IGF, that's the very good platform where this search could be done and information gathered. And of course, there was already mentioning the possible link between Friends of IGF website and the next project, which most probably will be presented. I also see that there is a perfect correlation and match of these activities. And thank you very much for all the support that you are giving to Internet Governance Forum as a multi-stakeholder discussion platform. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And I think, Fadi, you want to say something about the platform for projects and these two projects in particular?
I think you will agree with me, having heard Bertrand de la Chapelle and Susan Chalmers, that we've heard essentially from two entrepreneurs in internet governance. These are two individuals who on their own undertook a project that was needed in the community, grassroots, and became a new breed of entrepreneurs in governance. That's what they are. So in a way, the Net Mundial platform that we have just introduced today becomes the Silicon Valley for internet governance. It becomes a place online where people can come, bring their ideas, and move them forward. Now, they're very different. Bertrand de la Chapelle started his project before Net Mundial was born. He was already going. Why is he coming to the Net Mundial platform? To accelerate it, to take it to the next level, to scale it. It's a place where he exposes the great work he's done, which, by the way, is amazing work. Is amazing work. For those of you who have the time, please go to his session and attend and understand what he's done. But now this work needs to be accelerated and exposed. And here we just heard from the MAG chair how sometimes, you know, we're not, let's say, as entrepreneurial as we can be in a UN environment, but here at Net Mundial we can be. And that's why this platform can accelerate his project. In the case of Susan, she came with a great grassroots idea that needed more fuel to keep going, needed more of a home to keep going, and she put it on the Net Mundial platform. Many of us helped her finance it, get it to this point. Now she will integrate it with a map. So when you look at the content on the Friends of the IGF or to the map, which we'll see in a moment, you can correlate the content straight to the issues. This is tremendous progress for what the platform should be. And we're just at the beginning. We're just at the beginning, so I want to make it obvious to us that these projects are independent. They're not Net Mundial projects. One of them will now live at CGI. The other one is totally independent in an organization in France, right, in Europe. But they flourish in, quote unquote, the Silicon Valley incubation space, which we're creating here at Net Mundial, but this time entrepreneurship for governance. So congratulations to both of you for the great work, and I hope the platform at Net Mundial will help you accelerate and continue the great work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great segue into the next part of the program. These projects, I hope everybody takes away from this segment that these are data points in how the platform, the Net Mundial Initiative platform, can facilitate the work of others in the internet governance community. And I think that the two projects really highlighted that. Now we're going to turn to the second. Oh, we have a question? Yep.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt the flow. Just on that point before you move on, because I understand you have a schedule to meet. I'm representing InHope, the International Association of Internet Hotlines, which is one of another project of I believe 9 that have been presented on the platform. And really, my question is about regarding the process, how the panel and how Net Mundial sees responses to these proposals, perhaps engagement on how we can drive forward the very diverse initiatives that have been presented through. Now, I'm not going to present our proposal here, and I would invite everyone in the room to go to the website and read it. But certainly, it would be, I think it would be very useful to the organizations that have taken the time to submit something, to have some kind of dialogue about how we see this moving forward.
So one thing I can say is our intention now as a group is to go to the next level in facilitating projects by other people like yourself. As I mentioned earlier, a big part of that is the conversation about how we gather funders. Because one of the things we see as our role is to help people find financial support. Doesn't mean we're supporting directly, but we're going to help bring people together and provide an opportunity for people to pitch their ideas to funders. That's our next round of conversations. I mean, we too are a startup, and we have been building. It took us a long time to sort out our own mission statement, our terms of reference. A lot of work's been going on behind the scenes in building these 2 core platforms, the solutions map. We're about to hear about the platform for projects, but we really do recognize we've got to go to the next level and actually bring support. So we hear you.
Add to that, you are correctly saying, where are the venture capitalists that will help the entrepreneurs with ideas on the platform? This is the next focus area for the Net Mundial Council. We are already having meetings with several players. They were waiting for the platform to be introduced and for projects to start showing up. I'm very fond of your project. I read about it on the site. There's other great projects, the one about child bullying and helping stop that. So there are fantastic new projects. Now we need to get those who can help fuel these, the venture capitalists of internet governance, and we will work on that together.
Thank you, and congratulations on all the hard work. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to turn to the intellectual heart of this initiative, which is the solutions map, and Stefan is the brains behind it, so he will present to us.
What an expectation. Thank you very much. My name is Stefan Verhulst. I'm the co-founder and chief of research and development of something called the GovLab, or Governance Lab, which is a action research center at NYU. And I'm specifically delighted to be part of this initiative because at the lab, we've been advocating. All right.
Everybody should speak into your mics more directly.
All
People
right.
have been commenting.
So I'm specifically delighted to be here because at the governance lab, we've been advocating for new ways of approaching problem solving, new ways to make decisions, new ways to govern. And I'm specifically delighted to be part of the Net Mundial initiative because it seems like they really embrace this concept of government as platform, where on the one hand you have a demand, which quite often is a governance demand, and on the other hand they identify new ways to match that demand with supply. And I'm delighted also to present one particular kind of a platform that we have been developing the last year, which is a platform that tries to match on the one hand the demand with demand for information, with on the other hand the supply of information and expertise that is already out there within the internet governance community. So on the one hand, we can see that there are a huge amount of information needs. On the one hand, information is fragmented and it's very hard to find actually what you need in order to make decisions, especially if you go about issue-driven kind of decisions. It requires quite often a certain knowledge to even start the search, let alone to understand who and what matters. And also, to a large extent, it's very fragmented and it's very hard to find who knows what, which is a specific need in this environment in order to find the expertise and especially to find people that you can connect and network with in order to find and create new network solutions in the spirit of distributed internet governance, which is the approach that seems to be taking hold. On the other hand, there are a huge amount of experts out there. There are a lot of organizations out there that work in this field, and there's a lot of information that has already been produced that somehow can match this need if brought together in a platform that matches this need with the demand that is out there. And so that's the spirit of the Net Mundial solutions map, which came out of the mandate of the Net Mundial roadmap that clearly identified this need for some kind of a coordination tool that would allow, as was mentioned by Fadi and others at the beginning, that would allow for decentralization, that would allow for distributed approaches to the challenges, but in some kind of a coordinated fashion in order to nurture those distributed approach. And so the Net Mundial Solutions Map allows or seeks to allow for some kind of coordination with regard to information sharing and information provision. And so we have this map up and running right now. It's still, of course, in beta format, but I urge everyone to visit the map and see whether there is any value to be created or to be shared to a large extent. Just a brief update on the history of the map. The map has been iterative, meaning other have adopted the Silicon Valley language. We've also tried to adopt a more agile kind of approach with regard to development of the map. And so we started off with an extensive user research on what was actually needed and what was already out there. That ultimately led to a prototype with regard to information sharing and provision. And now we are really working hard on building the ecosystem that will really allow for the map to thrive, and also the partners that ultimately can provide for the credibility and the currency that is required for the map, plus further development. Meaning anyone in this room who has ever developed technology knows that there is no end date ultimately with developing technology, and so we need to constantly be responsive to the user's need and to make sure that the user experience, both from the information seeker and from the information sharer, is optimized. A few stats. And of course, anyway, the question is what's the right indicator to measure success? But just a few stats right now. We have about 90 issues that are currently on the map. And the interesting thing here is that we started off with a set of issues that were sourced by other initiatives in order to make sure that they are interoperable. But we see rapidly that users of the map actually start adding issues that are not addressed by any other kind of initiative. And so we see, again, the power of the supply side to define what are the kinds of issues that might matter. We specifically focused on putting actors on the map, and that I will explain in a second as well why that is important, because to a large extent internet governance, as Bertrand said, is a result of actors. And trying to identify those actors and then ultimately enable them to find others as well to jointly develop solutions is part of this map. So at the moment we have 600 actors that we have identified. I think this is probably the most of any other kind of initiative that has tried to develop an insight in who is actually out there in the space. We have about 300 resources that are being provided and 200 solutions, and we hope, of course, that this will grow, because there is ultimately no, of course, the platform allows for this kind of organic growth of the initiative. Now, a few issues that I just want to raise. What we've learned, of course, and what everyone, to a large extent, working in this space knows, which is that if you build it, they obviously don't automatically come. And that's the reason why it's so hard to get this off the ground, and why there is this need for community engagement, and why we're so delighted to be part here of the IGF, is to enable ultimately the creation of the community and the ecosystem that will be able to drive that if deemed to be valuable. And of course that's another effort that we try to constantly remind ourselves, is that in order for this to be successful, we need to be responsive to the needs out there, which is principle number one from day one. And the second element that I just want to raise, because we are talking here about the Wikipedia of internet governance to a large extent, is that Wikipedia was obviously also not built in a day. For those who might go back into memory lane, I just pulled out an article from 2005, which basically criticized Wikipedia as a bunch of crap. No one ever would, garbage, exactly. No one would ever want to use Wikipedia, and I can assure you that teachers worldwide were concerned with actually having their students use Wikipedia material. I can also assure you that now teachers are actually advocating for the use of Wikipedia quite often as a starting point. And so we see now 10 years later, Wikipedia is now the seventh most visited website worldwide, and that they just reached 500 million articles in English on the site. And so our aspirations are, of course, not to anyway reach that goal, but it's about our aspirations are linked with this notion that there is a supply out there, and if you provide a platform, that good things can happen if you enable it and if you nurture it in a manner that is user focused. Now, the next key objectives for the map and the next key principles that we seek to implement is to, first of all, to be comprehensive. The map needs to address the variety of needs that are out there, and we will try to do that through sourcing knowledge, which I will explain in a second. The second one is to be accurate. The third one is to be up to date, and the fourth one, is to be responsive. And I think a map, especially in this environment, succeeds. A map of knowledge succeeds if it's comprehensive, accurate, up to date, and responsive to the needs. And so that's the reason why we have taken those 4 objectives and have developed the specific strategies to make sure that we can touch on each of those. With regard to the being comprehensive, here we source knowledge that is out there in the community. And so today we're launching, which everyone might have seen, launching the campaign, which is Are You on the Map? Which is, if you haven't seen it, take the card and especially look at the back of the card, which basically urges you to visit the map and become a contributor. And what we try to do is to make sure that everyone here in the Internet Governance Forum is on the map. And so if you go on the map, you don't find yourself, and please add yourself to the map, because it's a platform that enables everyone to be out there. Plus, when you're on it, then also add any kind of response and solution that you have worked on, so that we see this mapping of actors plus the mapping of the solutions and the resources by adding actors to the map as well. If you find yourself on the map and you want to change it, register. It's a one-step process, and edit what is out there, so that we have also the accuracy of what is on the map. The second element is about how do we make sure a level of accuracy beyond, in addition to sourcing the accuracy out there. And we have developed or are in the process of expanding our partnership model, in which we here are partnering with a variety of organizations. And here some of the organizations are listed. I'm specifically delighted also that Lea Gaspar from Global Partners Digital is here, who has stepped up and is also a core partner in this endeavor. And so the idea here is that they would partner in order to adopt an issue is accurate and is also comprehensive. And so anyone that might have an interest becoming a partner in promoting the use of the web, the map, we would be delighted. The other strategy is in order to make sure that it's up to date and that it also engages with other maps that are out there. And so we are delighted to have a collaboration with a variety of other mappers, including Friends of the IGF. With Susan, we've been in constant debate, and good things will eventually result of that. But we also been very closely working with JIPO, with the European Commission. We've been delighted to work with Christina and her colleagues in order to find ways that other maps can contribute. And so here it's a mock-up of what we hope to achieve with JIPO, which is that you would have JIPO, which is the map that also tries to map news around issues. We would embed that in the map in order to assure a certain level of accuracy. And we also are working with other maps in order to establish a common dictionary of terms that allow for this interoperability. And so we will have a session on that, and I see Diego there as well, who is behind the session, a session on how can observatories and maps work together. And then last but not least, we also need to develop our tech strategy. Specifically, the priorities is to make the map open source, to allow for an API that then is interoperable with other maps, so that we finally can start sharing content in an automated fashion. I know Susan is eager to do further the hand-driven kind of addition, but let's make it automated, and especially also to be responsive and to build communication around it, meaning the importance of communication in order to express the value cannot be understated, and is to a large extent a time and energy intensive operation. Now, we need you to step up, and here I talk specifically to the council members, but also to everyone in the room. There are a variety of ways to engage and step up with regard to the Net Mundial Solutions Map, which has now been an endorsed Net Mundial initiative. First of all, I hope that everyone on the council has checked whether they are on the map. If not, please check whether you're on the map, and if you want to add or expand, please take the time to register and expand or edit. Also, I hope everyone can allow for promotion and communication around the map. So follow our new Twitter handle, Net Mundial Map. Become a partner organization. Some, like APC, have already indicated an expression to become a partner organization, and we hope that that can also be developed further. Become a user. There are a variety of use cases that we are exploring. Every year there are X amount of internet governance events. For those events, there are X amount of background material that is each time be prepared. The event ends, the background material resides somewhere, but no one really can actually find it. If we could find a way to also collaborate with event organizers in this space and find a way to collaborate with anyone who is developing some initiative and have the content also reside at the map. It doesn't have to be exclusively on the map, but it has to have some kind of a map presence so that it can also be connected with other environments. Share your tech expertise. There are plenty of techies in the room here as well. And the map, to a large extent, especially if we start making it open source, can benefit from your expertise in areas of data visualization, in areas of knowledge management, and so on. Promote the map. If you're eager to put a banner of the map on your website, we definitely won't discourage you. We're more than happy to provide you with the banner and a link so that you actually have traffic coming back from your sites to the site of the map. And finally, of course, we also need help with the sustainability element, the funding. We've been delighted to have received funds from ICANN and the World Economic Forum also for the next batch. But obviously, I think there has to be a community-driven kind of engagement. There has to be buy-in, not only buy-in in spirit, but also buy-in financially by the community in order to make this a map that is valuable for the community. So with that, I hope that everyone makes sure that you're on the map. Yeah. If you have any suggestions to improve the map in any way, let us know. We can just send us either via Twitter or send us an email from netmap@thegovlab.org. We can also find all the information on the map. And I think it's important to be able to build the platform that is envisaged here by the Net Mundial initiative, also as it applies to sharing information and providing information. Thank you.
Okay, that's a great presentation. I think Fadi wants to say something, and then we're open for questions.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, Bill, you said earlier that one of your visions has been this clearinghouse concept. I think we could start seeing this vision come together here. So really, thank you for that, Stefan. I just want to emphasize that the Net Mundial initiative has 3 core pillars. The first pillar we saw earlier, which was the project platform. And all Net Mundial does there is create a space for entrepreneurs and grassroots efforts to survive and build new and accelerate their activities. This second pillar you just saw is the map, the clearinghouse, as Bill likes to call it. A place where knowledge is pooled into a common platform. So unlike the project platform, this is a knowledge platform. So that if a minister in some country or a group in some country is trying to say what policies exist on limiting child pornography on the internet, can I look at all the policies? What actors could help me? What academics have written papers on the issue? All of this is pooled into this map. And Stefan mentioned 90 issues is now the map. Child pornography would be one, for example. And you can go to the map now at netmundial.org/map and look at each issue and understand how these issues are being. So again, Net Mundial is not trying to centralize content in a map like this. It is simply enabling a platform for all of you, all of us, to bring content into this map and make it complete. I want to emphasize that these 3 pillars of Net Mundial are funded by the Net Mundial initiative. Everything else is funded through directly by people going to Bertrand de la Chapelle, for example, and saying, we really like your project, we'd like to fund it. Money doesn't go through Net Mundial to fund various projects. But the 3 core pillars of Net Mundial, which we are funding as Net Mundial, are the platform, which you saw earlier, the project platform, and now this map, which I think today, just for transparency, has cost about $500,000 to build so far. this map that Stefan just presented to us. And more will be needed to maintain such a powerful visual and contextual map of all the internet governance activities in the world in one place. So thank you, Stefan, for the leadership you have shown personally, for the GovLab, the organization in which you have conducted this work. And I hope all of us find the map useful and contribute to it as Stefan asked us to.
Great. I don't see any questions. Actually, Marilia?
Just a quick comment. Actually, you mentioned what I was going to ask, which is exactly the campaign that you are launching, Are You on the Map, to make sure that people know about this platform. Other than that, something that I think is very useful is that for most people in the community, governmental and intergovernmental documents are a very valuable source of information, such as ITU resolutions, Council of Europe declarations, and for different reasons, the websites of these organizations are not usually the best ones in terms of retrieving information. I think that the IGF could be really a wonderful opportunity for the project to reach out to these organizations. Usually they have a day that they informally meet, international organizations, they get together. So maybe if you could approach them, it would be wonderful to have this information directly included on the map. Very useful. Thank you.
Okay, so as we close this segment on the solutions map, let me just say, I think you showcased how this solutions map really captures the personality of this initiative. On the one hand, it is collecting and capturing the substantive contribution being made by players all over the world, so that, again, people don't have to reinvent the wheel every year and every meeting. It's also, at the same time, facilitating collaboration on that substance live. And so that dual nature is such a good reflection of what this entire initiative is about, and that's why this is a core activity. I think we are now scheduled to take a very short break because we are a little bit behind in the program, and then we will come back and continue. It may be that we have a slight change in the order of the agenda because Virgilio has to do a quick meeting and he's going to present on CGI. So the next segment of the conversation, we will go right into conversation with all of you about potential collaboration with the IGF itself and the IGF community. And we'll be back here. It is now on my watch 5 of 11. And we will rejoin here at 11:15. And we look forward to conversation and question with all of you. Thank you.
So I'm just going to go in. Thank you.
eh. Mais. Mais.
Okay, we're going to regroup now as people come, hopefully come back into the room. And I just want to bring the top line frame back to everybody's mind in terms of what the Net Mundial initiative is all about. And as has been highlighted, there are really 3 pillars of the initiative, and those are the things we're trying to highlight today. The first of which is a platform for collaboration and support with projects already out there with the partners here. The other is really a knowledge, make sure that. And then the third, from Virgilio Almeida, who is coming back to the room momentarily, shortly, is the platform for capacity development and best practices in internet governance, and that's the CGI project. And so those are the 3 pillars that we're trying to showcase today. Right now, we're slightly switching the order of our original agenda to wait for Virgilio, and we're going to open it up and see what kinds of comments or questions anybody has about engagement between the Internet Governance Forum community, the Internet Governance community, and the Net Mundial initiative generally, or if you have any comments about how to integrate the 2 platforms that have already been described, the project platform and the knowledge platform. If you have any commentary about how to further integrate those 2 initiatives into this community, or if you have any general questions, and going back to the beginning of what Marilia and Bill were talking about our reason for being and the spirit in which we're trying to operate. So the floor is open for any kind of questions from anybody. I see one question right here. Go ahead.
Let me try.
And perhaps identify yourself just so we know where you're coming from.
Sure, George Sadowski, ICANN, but speaking in my own individual capacity. How are you going to measure success?
Well, first, I'm going to say anybody here who's associated with the Net Mundial initiative, feel free to jump in. But the thing that comes to me off the top of the head flows from something that Stefan said earlier. It's sort of like, it's this idea, if you build it, hopefully they will come and they will vote with their feet and that people will show up. And our hope is that the Wikipedia model really is apt, and that it starts off with skepticism and confusion about whether it's going to work or not, and then it takes off, and because it shows its function and value to the relevant community. Either of you, actually, Bill's going to respond, and we'll come right back to you.
So, George, I mean, I think one way of thinking about it is to go back to the functions that we said we wanted the Net Mundial initiative to perform. So, if, for example, one of the key functions is to map the progress or lack thereof with regard to the principles, one would hope that we would get somebody who would conduct that kind of a research and share with the international community. If that becomes a regular feature, an institutionalized thing, then that would be a success. If nobody does it, then you would think, well, that one didn't work out too well. If people begin to use the solutions map that Stefan's developing, or if we are able to otherwise grow the sort of clearinghouse space and we see more users coming in, more requests for information, more efforts to populate it with information, etc., people buying in and making use of the facility, then that's a marker of success. If more projects are posed and if some actually get some funding, that's a marker of success. This is not an abstraction. These are concrete activities, and we'll be able to tell whether or not people are buying in and supporting it or not, and if not, then we have to make adjustments to it in whatever form. You want to add something?
Thank you. I was involved in the first DESA attempt to do this back in the 1970s, and that's a long time ago, and the technology certainly has changed, and so have the people. But I think I was getting more at the issue about how do you make it a success? How do you get what you really want is the critical mass of to the point where people say, well, where do I go for this stuff? I go here. And what you need is an upward spiral of contributions and use. And it seems to me that that is that's something. It's not clear how you get that. When you look at the history of information retrieval, for example, there are the abstract writers and the old Lexis and Nexus approaches, and then there's just plain search, which has now gotten unwieldy and probably is inappropriate also. But how do you get the combination of technical factors and buy-in that gives you what you want to achieve?
I think that is a great comment, and you know, we of all people appreciate it because we really do want to get traction, and that. But you asked the relevant question: how do you do it? Our instinct is, I mean, we've had to build our own structures, terms of reference, mission statement, all of that, and the platforms themselves. But we have this sense that if we can do the same building with respect to a funding mechanism for others, that may exponentially attract people and get us traction. That's our instinct. We don't know how to do that. Those are our next conversations. Marilia has a follow-up.
Just to add a quick comment to that, I think that in terms of technical solutions, there is a huge potential in this community here, specifically colleagues that are from the technical community to help us improve the platforms that we have. So if you look at the map, for instance, if the code of the map could be open and people could scrutinize the code, maybe we could make the map integrate better with the other platforms that we are talking about here, such as the Friends of the IGF. So that would be something that would really show that we have a more and more robust code and platform, and as I mentioned, the platforms are really the focal point of what we're doing here. In terms of engagement, I think that one of the important ways kind of to feel and to try to measure that is that, as I mentioned before, and we will see in the platform, people can be engaged in the platform in terms of assessing the projects that they believe would be more important, that would bring more impact on the level of their communities. So if this assessment is made, I think that it will be in the future an important way and to see how engaged people are in the platform, not only proposing new ideas, which is of course very important, important, but also people reviewing these ideas and helping us as well to kind of ask a project proponents to come and pitch ideas and to try to find donors as well. So thanks.
Thanks. One last comment. The platform can be terrible. If it promotes economic and social development really well, it may not matter how good the platform is. So I'd argue that there's a distinction to be made between the fine-grained granularity of the tool in addressing issues as opposed to actually producing results in the field. And I think the measurement of that is particularly difficult because you're really asking a question similar to who uses the dictionary and how useful is it. But you have a dictionary. Presumably you're making a dictionary of things that work. How do you find out how that is implemented other than anecdotally? Maybe anecdotally is a good way to do it, but I think that's the challenge.
So we're going to come right there in a minute. I want to ask you a follow-up. So let's say we don't have the perfect platform. Again, as Stefan said, it's never done. It's always perfectible. We're not perfect yet, and that can be ongoing, but you're saying independent of how perfect or imperfect it is, you can still get traction, and there is still independent reasons that draw people. What are they? What's your instinct about that?
Well, that's a good question too. I don't know. I think first of all, you have to be known. But second, I think that measures of success, I think if I saw that people were using this to get good information and actually had applied it, that it had made them jump over a lot of hurdles in getting results in the field, again, I would say that's probably worth investigating. So I would put a lot of effort into measuring the ultimate results in terms of development.
If I may, I think, George, you're spot on about this, that first we need people to know the map exists. Announcing today, we now have a taxonomy that includes 90 internet governance issues that was developed with great research and inclusion of many people. It wasn't just Stefan sitting in a lab doing this. I mean, he included a lot of people online and offline to do that. Now that we have the map, he started building under the map the list of existing resources and actors for each item. That's going to take a lot of work. It's almost like a Wikipedia that has the words but has not yet developed descriptions of each word. So how many of the 90 issues now have a little bit of depth, Stefan?
There are several, but as indicated, we started off in order to document the value with 5 in-depth kind of assessments, and then ultimately see now, I would say we have now probably close to more than 10 that are somewhat more populated.
Okay.
But but it is when I showed the stats, I think that was one of my comments, was that stats can be one indicator of success, but should not be the driver ultimately to document what the value was. And I think the value propositions are various, and we should measure the value propositions according to the different kinds of purposes that we seek to measure, including improved coordination, expertise, and solutions. And so, having done and still doing a lot of impact assessments, I think there is of course a value proposition that we need to develop, then make that measurable according to the indicators and metrics that we decide. But that should be done by the council as a collective kind of undertaking.
But George, so thank you, Stefan, but just to finish the point that, for example, you were with us at the Wicket in Dubai in 2012. You were not. We had ministers stand up, well-meaning ministers from countries, saying, we need to develop a treaty on spam because we don't have solutions for spam. When in fact there were many solutions for spam. But in fairness to those ministers, maybe those solutions were not clear, where there was no place to find them. There's no place to assess whether the existing solutions for spam are working or not working. So now we have a single repository where all this information is in one place. So today, if you go to the child pornography issue, for example, which I mentioned earlier, you will find many policies that have been implemented, many papers that have been written. You can connect with actors who understand the space, all in one place. So therefore, this is where the solution will start getting legs. If people start saying, before they stand up to call for a treaty on an issue, well, let's first find out if there are voluntary solutions that have been implemented. Have they worked? Have they not worked? Who's implemented them? How can I connect with experts? That's the value of this. And that, to me, to you, to all of us, would be success. If we don't have any more major global initiatives by governments or other players that are frankly driven from a lack of knowledge of what's there already, that would be a success for us.
Just to build on this point, one of the challenges we had in trying to think through the functions that we would perform, though, is precisely how interventionist or how much guidance does one provide. It's one thing to put a tool online and say, okay, minister, go dig through it and figure out the 55 ways different people are working on spam, so forth. But if you want to actually be really useful and not just point people to information resources, maybe you want to actually connect them to other actors. You want to help them build a distributed policy network. And the problem is we got shy, I think, because we were so concerned that people would think we're overreaching or that we're editing or that we're making selections. And do we have the legitimacy to make those selections? That we pulled back from that. We said, okay, we won't play any active role. We just put the stuff out there and we hope everybody finds their way. And I think, one of the things going forward is if we try to grow this kind of facility is to ask yourself, if you were to look in other policy spaces, would they be so reluctant if it was the environment, if it was arms control, if it was gender issues, would actors be so reluctant to try to help other actors identify connections, build relationships, assemble their own personal policy networks? I don't know that they would, but here we really felt that way. And that's unfortunate, and it may be that in a future iteration, in whatever form NMI is, that kind of an activity could be leveled on there more.
And hopefully we're demonstrating today that there is not as much reason for skepticism as people originally feared. And that this really is about supporting others and facilitating the outstanding work that's being done, much of which is being lost and not built upon. So hopefully that's what's coming through. I had a question.
It's clear? Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ute Navidi, and I'm a representative from INAXO, the European NGO Alliance of Children's Charities Working on Internet Safety. It's my first IGF and the first session at it, so I'm very pleased to be here. Although INAXO has been at every single IGF meeting, except for the very first one, trying to bring the views and the concerns that children, young people have to the attention of this high-level policy-making body. And I can see many opportunities to connect with children's issues from what I've heard so far today. But really, we would like to see children, young people being much more recognized, both in the principles and in the 3 pillars, as active and autonomous stakeholders on the online environment, because research shows that 1 in 3 children in the developed world and 1 in 2 children in the developing world are internet users. But at the same time, it feels quite difficult to make the case for their involvement and the funding as well, because children's involvement and meaningful participation costs money, and certainly a small network like us with 23 organizations throughout Europe, it's really hard to raise the kind of funds to really hear what concerns children and really get their voices into fora like this. So I hope you can give that some consideration. Thank you.
So I hear you saying you'd like not only substantive focus on the children and the impact of digital environment on children, but their participation as well, and mechanisms for inclusion of children's voices. I don't know, Stefan, do you want to say anything about any of the parts of the platform that deal with issues like this?
Sure, there are a variety of issues that dealing with child issues, mostly of course dealing with child and content issues, but I think what your indication was that it's a broader subject, and that's the reason why, again, we're looking to organizations like yourself to be part of the development of the map, and I would be delighted if we could develop a partnership in which you become an active partner, as there are others, in order to indicate what kind of issues should be added, what kind of issues, within those issues, what kind of content should be added as well, and especially providing a certain level of accuracy, given the fact that this is your, anyway, day-to-day kind of passion, what kind of content really would provide value for those who needs to be informed and when visiting the site. And so we have a variety of options for collaboration, and so that's, would be, anyway, my response. And especially, I would urge you to look at the map and see what the current content is with regard to children. We have, anyway, of course, online child pornography, we have child safety issues, and whether that in itself is already accurate and valid. Those kinds of input is the kind of input that we would benefit from. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I think we're going to move on to the next segment, which is focused on this third pillar. So we've heard about the project platform for collaboration, the knowledge platform, which is also for collaboration, but substantive. And now is the third piece, the third project, which is about capacity building and best practices in internet governance. And we have Virgilio Almeida, who's going to present for us.
Thank you, Eileen. Just a small short comment. This best practice for local internet governance is going to be a project. It's not exactly a pillar, but it's one of the projects that's going to be important for the Net Mundial initiative. Before I start talking about the practices of CGI, I would like to say that CGI is 20 years old this year. It's celebrating its 20 years, and it's the fruit of a collective work of many individuals that have been collaborating to the internet governance process in Brazil. Many of the members of the board of CGI are here in the. I'd like to acknowledge their presence here, and it is interesting because it is a body that it's truly multi-stakeholder, and it's not easy to pass this idea to the rest of the society. Many times I had to say to my colleagues in government, CGI is not government, so we cannot say what CGI has to do. We have to convince the other members of the board that this question is important. So that's this multi-stakeholder spirit, I would say, that is in the root of the success of the CGI. So the idea of this project is to, at the same time, to show what has worked and what has not worked in terms of a local multi-stakeholder body for internet governance. And the idea is to put this knowledge in a systematic way, in a methodological way, so that others can see what can help them, what can be useful for them. So that's the idea of this project, to organize the memory and to highlight what was important for the construction of this multi-stakeholder body. So that I would highlight 3 points. One is creation of the the policies proposed, the best practice proposed by CGI. So I think that these 3 points are the most important aspect of CGI. And then I will show a map of those things. So talking about, it was created 20 years ago of science and technology. So it was created in 1995 before the creation of ICANN as a multi-stakeholder body. So it was one of the first organizations to implement this multi-stakeholder way of governing the internet. I'm not going to go through these specific points of the decree, but I would like to talk about the composition of the board of CGI. It has 21 members, 9 members from government that are appointed by their respective ministers. 4 members from the private sector that are elected by their communities. 4 members from the civil society, also elected by the constituents of the civil society, and 4 members from the technical and community and academia. So it is important to emphasize that no single sector, no single stakeholder has the majority of the votes. Everything has to be negotiated there. So that's the composition that guarantees this multi-stakeholder nature of the organization. Another important achievement of the CGI in these 20 years of existence was the 10 principles for internet use and governance in Brazil. These 10 principles were published by CGI in 2009. So after 14 years of existence. And it is very important for several reasons. The first one, these 10 principles, you can see the principles there. I can read from here. We can freedom, privacy, human rights, democratic and collaborative governance, universality, diversity. The first thing that is important to underscore is that the principles illuminate the way the CGI tries to reach a decision about new issues. So all the decisions are discussed in the context of these principles that were agreed by the different stakeholders that are part of the board. The second aspect of the importance of these 10 principles, it is the way that the CGI communicates to society what's the role of CGI, what are things that should be important to preserve it. So to achieve this 10 principles, I think it took, I wasn't part of CGI at that time, but Demi was there. It took almost 2 years of discussion in order to have all the stakeholders to agree on the 10 principles. So that was one of the most important achievements of CGI. Another important aspect is the creation of the network center for the network center, sorry, for the Network Information Communication Center. That's a private organization that implements the policies and the practice proposed by the board of CGI. it does not depend on government funds. So its revenue comes from the domain fees required to register a domain name. So it's independent of government budgets. So that's a very important aspect of this organization. This is basically the organization of the Network Information Communication Center. It has an administrative council composed of seven members. They are members of the CGI. It has executive board of directors. Demi, Harmut Glaser are both directors of this NIC. And it has several organizations under this executive board. The Domain Registration and IP Assignment Organization, Security and Incident Response, Studies and Surveys about ICT Use, Internet Engineering and News Project, Traffic Exchange, Web Technology, and Web Standards. So I think that this is going to be an important part of the project to describe in a very systematic way how these organizations work, synchronized with the goals proposed by CGI. This is next, please. Yes, this is a very interesting slide. It shows all the activities that are carried out by CGI. We can see that basically they can be grouped in four big themes: capacity development and education, multi-stakeholder dialogues, infrastructure and projects, information indicators. In terms of capacity development and education, we have the Brazilian School of Internet Governance. We provide scholarships to students and researchers. We have the courses on incident handling, IPv6, tutorials and webinars, and short videos on internet governance related issues and web standards. So it's a series of initiatives in order to create capacity in Brazil, and that is a kind of thing that will be part of this project of best practice, how to implement them, how to implement them in other cultures or in other regions of the world. Another block of activity is multi-stakeholder dialogues. We have the regular meetings of the board. We meet once a month. Usually is the last Friday of the month. It's a meeting from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a long meeting where we discuss and decides about the problems related to internet governance in Brazil. One thing that I would like to emphasize that it's not simple to achieve a decision in this multi-stakeholder body where everything works in an equal footing basis. Just to give you a concrete example, we have been working on almost 1.5 years on a decree to propose to governments what are the exceptions to net neutrality. 1.5 years to come up with a 2-page document that is agreed by all the stakeholders. So the decision process is not simple. So it requires a lot of patience and a lot of discussion. So that's something that we have to learn to operate in a multi-stakeholder way. Also in this multi-stakeholder dialogues, we have observed a lot of pressure from different areas of government in order to increase the number of government representatives in the board of CGI. So in order to keep it restricted to 21 members, because if we increase the number of government representatives, we would have to increase the number of other representatives in order to keep the balance. So a mechanism used to reduce this pressure was to create what we call the consulting chambers that are defined or are created according to some specific themes, such as cybersecurity, such as education, so we can bring to the discussion other ministries of the government, other organizations that do not have a direct representative in the board. So it was an important thing that was created years ago. We have the Brazilian pre-IGF every year in a specific city of the country. We try to go to countries in the north of Brazil, in the Amazon region, in the northeast, or in the very south, in order to take this culture of multi-stakeholder governance to different parts of the country. So the pre-IGF is a meeting where we prepare the Brazilians for the IGF. This year, we had something that is new to the IGF. It's called the Youth at IGF. We fund 87 young people to come to IGF. They were trained and prepared to appreciate the discussions here. So they will be the leaders of the future. So that's part of this dialogues. And we have also thematic events related to security and other aspects. In terms of infrastructures and projects, CGI, through the NIC project, the NIC project, which is the private organization that implements the CGI policy, has several infrastructure and important projects, such as the Internet Exchange.pr, that's now very successful in terms of the amount of traffic that it handles, the IPv6 deployment, the broadband metrics initiative, the anti-spam. It is a multi-stakeholder initiative to reduce spam generation in Brazil. It was a very successful initiative. 3 years ago, Brazil was one of the top 5 countries in generating spam. Brazil now is not on the 20 top countries. And that was because this anti-spam project, that was a multi-stakeholder project to manage a specific part of the TCP/IP, and that helped to reduce tremendously the amount of spam generated in the country. Again, that's an example of how multi-stakeholder initiatives can help sensitive areas such as security. We also have this honeypot to help them to find ways to protect their users in terms of spam, to create policies for spam protection. We have this open data initiative, and we have several initiatives that that lead to tech recommendations, such as DNSSEC, Port 25, NTP synchronization. And the last block that is also very important is that we have an Internet Observatory that analyzes what is going on in the global terms, does the real-time follow-up of different actions related to Internet, different laws and proposals in different countries. It is also a repository of reference. We have an important organization in the NIC, it's called CETIC, that publishes annually reports about the usage of Internet in Brazil, in terms of use of Internet by the health sector, usage of Internet in the education, usage of Internet by companies, by households. So it's a series of surveys that we make available, publicly available, so that researchers, researchers from academia can use those data in order to create studies and also to help the construction of public policies. So, as you can see in this slide, we have many different initiatives that were created in this 20 years of existence. So what we want to do is to create a systematic way, a methodology to transfer this kind of knowledge to other countries that may find them useful for the construction of their local organizations for internet governance. So that's basically what I wanted to present. And thank you. So but basically, so just to finish, we have the phase of the project that we are already working on it. We have four phases. The phase one is the definition, the methodology. That's basically what we are doing, and we hope to finish it by February next year. So by the end of next year, we should have this project finalized.
Thank you so much. You're such a model of internet governance and leadership in the world, and now we know why. It's been going on for 2 decades. And so if nothing else, multi-stakeholder processes take time, and that's one of the things we learned. I think Fadi wants to say something first, and then we're going to open it up.
I'm sorry, but I need to leave and go to another session, but I just wanted to thank Minister Almeida for sharing about CGI. I think he knows that I've been a huge fan and supporter of the CGI model. I just came from 2 countries just in the last 48 hours where I met with the community and with ministers who are seeking how to build something like CGI in their countries. There is a huge need to understand this model, to appreciate it, to learn from it, and to actually replicate. Of course, each country will do it their own way. And I am very impressed always when I speak to CGI members and Minister Almeida. They have no agenda to force the CGI model on anyone. They're really doing this out of genuine commitment to share their experience with others. And for those of you in the room who are from other communities, I don't think we heard anything today that says this is the model. They're simply saying this is our experience. Take it, learn from it, and it's a remarkable experience. I've seen it firsthand when I had the pleasure of visiting with President Rousseff, and the head of CGI was not in the room. He was outside the presidential palace, and she insisted that she would not start the meeting with me until CGI was represented at the meeting. And she sent her chief of staff to go get someone from CGI to join us. The experience of CGI in Brazil is powerful. Even the president of the country makes them a very big part of how this country understands how to serve its citizens in the digital space. So I'm delighted that you're taking on that project. We are really thankful for your commitment to share your experience. I think the world will be richer and internet governance will be better because of your willingness as CGI to share that experience with other countries. So thank you for that. Just before I go, I wanted to share a comment before I believe Eileen will open this to the floor. I think you heard today about 3 different things happening in the space of Net Mundial. I know that there are some people in the room who for a while were trying to figure out where Net Mundial will go. And it wasn't necessarily clear. We didn't know. And in fairness, we didn't know. What we did know is that the Net Mundial meeting in Sao Paulo was very clear that there is a huge need for multiple initiatives, multiple efforts to move forward the work of internet governance. So think of Net Mundial as a place for innovation in internet governance. The map helps you find what's out there. The platform allows those like Bertrand and Ms. Chalmers and others who have ideas, who want to come and bring them to a place where maybe others will join them and actors will help them and funders will give them money. Great. This is innovation and governance. What we do want to say today, from my perspective, is that the initiative today took flight. I think today the initiative took flight. I think it is very clear that after months of quiet work, the initiative today has substance. And substance that is complementary to everything else out there, because it is not replacing and cannot replace the work at the IGF. It is not replacing any of the institutions that exist today. It is simply a place for all of us to work together and innovate in governance. And innovation we need. We need. Because if we don't innovate in governance itself, I think that the world will face some very difficult times, as Bertrand said in his opening slides. There are huge holes today in how the internet will be governed, especially for the issues on the internet. Not the issues of ICANN and the issues of IETF and the issues of how the internet works, but rather the issues on the internet. They need a place for innovation. This is not a place for centralization. This is a place for decentralized coordination, for helping different people come and find their way, not to centralize anything at Net Mundial. So I want to thank Eileen especially for her leadership, and I hope we can open the floor for questions and clarifications so that all of us can feel comfortable with where this is going. Many thanks.
Thank you, Fadi. So yeah, let's open it up. Either direct response to Fadi, direct response to Virgilio, and I see one question right there. Let's start there.
Good afternoon. I'm Henrique Valhaber, one of the board
So
members.
two things. Could you first identify yourself and also really close to the microphone? They're very soft mics.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon. I'm one of the board members of CGI-BR, and I would like to have the opportunity here to talk about a project that we will submit to the MI. Is a project under the umbrella of the best practice and capacity building project from CGI-BR. In fact, based on our experience on anti-spam projects in Brazil, we are asked for ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West Africa States, to set up a project to measure the spam problem in 15 countries on West Africa. So we are now preparing the draft of this project to submit to the NMI together, the CERT-BR, our arm, our technical arm inside the CGI-BR, and also this organization from the countries of West Africa. It will be a 18-month project that you set up a series of spam pots in each country in order to analyze the attacks and the vulnerabilities of the network from those countries, and also make recommendations and to attack the spam problem on those countries. I believe this kind of project to tackle real problems, it's a good vocation for to NMI, and I believe it will, independent of the others, best practice and capacity building projects inside CGI. We are very happy to work together with ECOWAS, submitting very soon the project to the platform. Thank you.
So that's a great example, not necessarily taking the whole model, but replicating one piece, an anti-spam portion of the CGI model. So I saw 3 other hands, and there may be others, but let's start right here. Wolfgang, then there, and then there.
Yeah, for the record, my name is Wolfgang Kleinwächter. I think we all know that good internet governance starts at home. And insofar, I think it's extremely useful to have a better structured presentation of the Brazilian case. But this can be only the start of a beginning. So because each country is certainly in a different situation, but is struggling with the same challenges. You know, how to institutionalize the multi-stakeholder model, you know, how to develop procedures for policy development and all this. And this will be differ from country to country, but each country can learn from the other country. So what I see with the Net Mundial initiative, and in the spirit what Fadi has just said, the decentralized approach, that this Brazilian case should be the springboard for a whole series of national case studies where different countries present their way, how they manage it. And I would not call this best practice, I would call this good practice. Because best means there's only one model. But you know, this is the best model and everybody has to follow. And as Fadi has said, you know, this is not the intention of the Brazilians to say, okay, this is our model and you have to follow us, but take this as a source of inspiration. And insofar, I hope that, you know, with this meeting, we can start probably a series with 3, 4, 5 national case studies per year that we have after a couple of years a collection which can be updated and after 3 or 5 years, so that we have, and this can be linked to the solution map, so that you get a quick overview about the situation in different countries. And in an annex, I would also recommend this to the Brazilians, that you have some fact sheets about who are the main actors, who are the main institutions, what are the main documents, so that we have the sources available. I think this would be really extremely useful then for the broader public, which makes use of this initiative. Thank you.
It's a great idea for us not only to be convening funders for projects to pitch and get financial support, but convening various players who've been involved in internet governance that's successful to showcase good practices.
And I fully agree with you when you say that good practices is better than best practices. Yes, that's the idea. It's to present what has worked well.
Right down there.
Thank you. My name is Sonigito Ekpe, again from Nigeria. Looking at a kind of scenario where you have a federation that do not really operate through federalism, how do we domesticate this practice at the local, subnational, and national to fit in for a total buyout in the country?
Okay, governance experts.
So let me say if I understood your question, is how to if you have a federate of states, that you said.
A federation of states, and then you have a structure that has local government, state, and national.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to be operating at national, and then the federation is not a true, because it's not really practicing federalism, there's so much concentration at the national level. How do you?
Yeah. Well, in the case of CGI, it works at the national level. Okay, so we have in Brazil a federation of 26 states, and but CGI works at, as I said, as the national level. What we tried to aggregate local visions to CGI, we 4 years ago, if not wrong, we proposed a model. We proposed a series of itinerant meetings. So we planned to have meetings in different cities of the country, so that we could be closer to the local population, or to the population of, or to the society of a specific state. So that was one of the actions that we took in order to take CGI to the different states. Another aspect that works well is that we have one member of the CGI that is indicated by the the Association of Secretaries of Science and Technology of State Secretaries of Science and Technology. So it's a way that we make connections with the states. So one way was to have meetings in different states of the country. The second action was we have one board member that represents all the states. So that is basically the status of this mechanism to coordinate the national level and the state level.
I think we had a question here.
Good afternoon. Igor Ostrowski. I'm the chairman of the Polish Digitization Council, which is also a multi-stakeholder body, very similar in structure to CGI. But one thing which I'm extremely envious of is that I've been waiting outside the presidential palace for ages, and no one has invited me in. So I think I just wanted to sort of reiterate and fully support what Mr. Wolfgang was saying. I actually wanted to say exactly the same thing. It would be fantastic if those new entities, like the Polish one, we are only a year and a half old, would be able to get more feedback, but also to contribute their own information, maybe their own problems, their own issues that they're currently facing. Because, for example, in Poland, we're constituted, we are implemented by law, but our impact is we still have a long way to go. So perhaps one way to do it would be for us to team up with other similar councils within Europe or around the world, try to organize things together, try to support each other to get on the global agenda. And if you could help to interconnect us, I think we would very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, I think that your suggestion is very good. We think that I think that Mundial could do this kind of action that you suggest to interconnect the different local internet governance bodies. So that's a suggestion for this project. Thank you.
I think it also, your comment underscores the need for the Net Mundial initiative to also help in convening these meetings. And it brings back, really what a miracle this CGI example is and what a contribution has been made to the global community. I mean, the Net Mundial event and outcome document would have been inconceivable but for the fact that CGI had already been practicing these multi-stakeholder models for 2 decades, and we are all the beneficiaries of that. And that can't go unstated. So we are basically at the end of our time. Any other last questions? And if not, I just thank everybody for coming, for your engagement, and hopefully you've gotten a feel for the types of activities that we've been working on in the last year, and we really look forward to collaboration with this broader community going forward, and we hope we get traction as we've been discussing. So thank you all for coming.
Impact that in a way, and just recognizing the principle of non-discrimination is quite important. And just to not go on too long, I think on a process issue, we're concerned about the fact that after the IGF, there's really no opportunity for non-governmental stakeholders to engage in the process other than a written submission. There's 4 days of closed informal governmental negotiations, and that's really where the text will be negotiated and decided. And I think that might be a point we could all pick up on together in terms of offering a solution or some proposals in order to open up that process a bit more.
That was very helpful.